Hello there, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. I am your host, Jamie.
And I am your host, Mark.
Thanks again for joining us.
Yes, thank you. We're past the holidays.
Yes, hope you had a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, nice Kwanzaa,
whatever else.
And if you don't celebrate anything, just a nice holiday, just a day,
nice day,
you know?
I mean, we hope you always have a nice day.
Absolutely.
We are definitely about the positivity around here at Coffee and Wrestling. We do try to focus on that. You got to point out some of the bad shit every once in a while, but
sometimes it's just bad, you know.
We are obviously a wrestling podcast that we talk about AEW, WWE, occasionally ROH, NJPW, whatever kind of tickles our fancy.
For sure. And the occasional conversation about coffee. Just know that when you hear this, it's there. It's implied.
Yeah. There's a pot brewing right now, and we've got full cups right now. So I mean,
oh man, the coffee pot's descaled. Like, we ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knew this. We've been drinking coffee for as long as Jamie and I have been together, and I never knew you had to descale a coffee pot.
Yeah.
I just thought they
little shinfo, but if your coffee pot's running really slow, you just need to put some vinegar and run a pot of coffee through it.
But for the love of God, make sure you clean it out like 3 or 4 times with a run of water, because if you don't, you get all that vinegar nastiness, and it's just You caught me that one morning by accident. You cleaned it the night before, and then we didn't run it through, and then I got up for work and went to drink my coffee, and it tasted like straight vinegar.
Straight up vinegar.
Bad.
So at any rate, coffee pot's descaled, fresh pot is in. Always going back to that Walmart blend.
Always.
But here we are for another episode of Coffee and Wrestling, and this podcast we will be talking about AEW Dynamite and Rampage. That puts us at 12/21 and 12/23.
Yeah, they consider these the Holiday Bash, which is going to precede the New Year's Bash, which will be happening next week.
I feel like Tony Khan comes up with any excuse to name the show. I'm not
hating. Any type of match, any type of show.
I'm not hating a tag team. Anytime things come off a little bit corny, I think Tony Khan's very excited about it in the back.
I do have to counter that. I feel like it's not as corny as it could be. I feel like a lot of the stuff that he does, I mean, granted, he does like a lot of the casino battle royales. He does like, we've got the $300,000 trios tag casino royale rumble. It's a jambalaya of doom, like whatever that is.
$300,000 Three Kings Christmas Casino Trio Royale.
But he always tries to make things interesting.
And he does. I'm definitely, again, not hating, but this is the Holiday Bash, precursor to the New Year's Bash, which last year they really killed it at the New Year's Bash with the women's match.
They did.
And I apologize, looking back, it is the New Year's Smash. That's what it was called.
Okay.
And it was the Bunny and Penelope Ford versus Ty J, what they're called. Ty Conti and Anna J.
Right. I don't know if they're going by that anymore. We had a conversation about that earlier.
I haven't noticed that they've been going by that. They haven't really been doing a lot of tag team matches.
Well, it was weird because they stopped being Ty J because
Ty Mello joined JAS.
Yep, and then Anna J ended up joining the JAS because now she's Anna JAS, which is, I still
really bad.
Don't know what they're doing with her. That's
nothing. They had like that weird thing where she was like, "I'll choke you out," and it was
I don't
really
think
awkward.
It didn't go over that well, and AEW was just like, let's back off on that a little. Let's figure something out with you.
There's nothing wrong with trying new things out with new people, but she's very, very, very green, Anna J. So I think she's only wrestled 50, 60 matches.
So is Ty Mello, if I remember right. She's only got a few years under her belt. But I mean, Jesus Christ, Jade Cargill's in that same category.
Yeah, she's got 45, 46 matches.
Hell, yeah.
A lot of these people aren't ready for a new character. They're still learning the one character, let alone trying to learn something new. And Anna J just seems like a complete sweetheart, so it comes off kind of weird that she's trying to be like this mean person that will choke you out.
Yeah.
I'll choke you out. I'll choke you out. It's kind of laughable.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of individuals who have kind of gotten their character down very well, we started off AEW with Ricky Starks running a promo on MJF and how he ended up losing last week, basically stating that he's got self-respect still, which, I mean, I got to give it to him, sure, but that he still ain't got the gold around your belt, Ricky.
No, well, I mean, he said that he still had his self-respect because he didn't have to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
He did things the right way like Ricky did. And of course, MJF had to hit the low blow and he cheated. But like
what they say, nice guys finish last. Obviously, Ricky Starks didn't win, but lo and behold, Jericho and the Appreciation Society came out.
Yeah, sans Jake Hager.
Yes. Well, they came out and offered an opportunity to Ricky to join the JAS,
Right.
which
you could smell from a mile away wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, of course. But interesting that he would try and take an interest in Ricky Starks, knowing he was in Team FTW. He had the FTW championship for a while. I mean, he is a hot commodity. Kayfabe, he is a very hot commodity. He
1,000%.
a very skilled individual. He had those great matches with Will Hobbs, even though he came up a little short.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic match with MJF last week.
And honest to God, I could see him going with an angle with the JAS. Like, he has that cockiness. He has that attitude. He has that, I hate using it, but he has that I'm better than you.
He could be a great heel.
Which, I mean, even MJF allured to that with a little bit of flavors of The Rock in Ricky Starks.
Right.
Which he vehemently denies that he stole his entire character from The Rock, but you can't tell me that the similarities
I never caught on
there.
to it until
Really?
he said it, and then I was
you
like...
never... Nuh-uh.
As big of a Rock fan as I am personally,
I figured you would have had that pegged from the beginning. I mean,
I just always loved something about it, but I never caught on to
you used to
him
hate
being
Ricky Starks.
Dwayne-like. I did.
We used to hate...
Well, it was
we
the
used to hate
outfit
a lot of
and
people.
the slip-ons,
Who was the one
and if you're
and-
listening, Ricky, I'm sorry, I didn't know you. I didn't understand you or your gimmick. It was he'd get beat up and then his shoes would go flying. And
His
I'm
loafers.
Like, every
He'd
week,
run out,
these fucking slip-on
run out
loafers.
with high waters and loafers, and every time he'd get his ass whooped, his loafers would go flying, his high waters would get even higher, and his silky shirt would just get ruined. And Jamie hated it. She just every time he'd come out, oh, this fucking guy.
And now I'm like, is he wearing the loafers?
No, I love it.
But he
I
doesn't.
love it.
He doesn't.
It's like anything else. It's like when you first, it's when we first started watching AEW. We were looking at 90% of the wrestlers, like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, he just looks like
Didn't understand who these
some
people
jabroni.
were.
And honest to God, I thought that about Ricky Starks. I really looked at him and said, who is this Dwayne Johnson looking wannabe kid?
Oh man, he's phenomenal.
Oh, it's great.
Even in the indies, he was great.
But obviously, shoots down the invitation to the JAS.
He does tell Jericho that he used to look like an air fryer a few months ago.
Yeah, that's right. He complimented him on how he went from looking like a wrestling air fryer to clean and cut.
Yeah,
and he does. Like,
it's true.
We commented on that a couple times, just looking at Chris Jericho. Like, why does he look like the Pillsbury Doughboy? And he was looking kind of thick. Maybe he's if you know anything about muscle building and sustaining strength, you need to go through a bulk and a cut phase, and sometimes when you get into that bulk phase, you look a little thicker. You have to add fat to add muscle, and maybe he was just doing that. Maybe he was going through a workout routine, but he did look like
he had a health scare though.
That's right, he did, didn't he? So that's probably what it was. That probably
I can't remember what in particular it was, but something put him in the hospital. And
I think it was something with his heart, if I remember
something
right.
like that. And he was
Either
just
way.
like, I got to get better. I got to lose the weight. I got to.
And he did. He looks.
Oh, wow,
he's what,
great.
50-something years old, and
Yeah.
I mean, my God, I know 50-year-olds that I work with that have gout, for fuck's sakes. I mean, they're
my
just
God.
because they don't take care of
I
themselves.
think my dad's 60 and he can barely get in and out of the truck that he works out.
Oh
of.
yeah. He looks phenomenal for somebody who's not only that age, but has also performed for 30 years.
I mean, Jesus
in
Christ.
a very high impact, industry. It's not like your dad. He drives trucks for a living. It's not like
he moves like
if you
dirt
did that
from
for
one
30
spot
years
to another spot.
Yeah, you got to worry about bed sores on your ass. Like that's the biggest thing. Chris Jericho's worried about chair shots. He's worried about jumping off of cages onto whether it was cardboard or fucking aluminum or steel. Like I mean, 30 years, whatever.
Too bad we weren't a podcast then.
Oh my God, the amount of shit we could have given him for that.
So cutting back to Ricky in the ring, he again was just basically saying, nope, not interested in being a part of the JAS. And behind him comes Jake Hager, who hits him with a lariat, knocks him down to the ground, and then, of all people to come out and help Ricky Stonks, Action Andretti.
Yep, the one who was able to pin Chris Jericho last week and quite possibly the upset of the week, if not the month, if not at this point the year.
Yeah.
I mean, honest to God, I don't think anybody saw that was going to happen. And you'll go back to our episode last week with AEW to hear our response and our reaction to that. But it was, again, it's going to be one of the standout points of 2022, at least for AEW.
It was absolutely fantastic. But he comes in here, Action pretty much lays everybody in JAS out, and Sammy Guevara, of all people, gets just absolutely annihilated by Action.
Oh, yeah.
And the crowd just
loves it.
Loved it.
I tell you what, AEW crowd right now, love him or hate Sammy, everybody just loves to hate on Sammy. It's like the best thing in the world. He is honest to God, like shades of Chris Jericho, which makes sense at this point with being the JAS. But straight up, he just walks out and people hate him. People absolutely hate him, whether he's just being cocky and crazy or he's tongue, slobbing all over his girl. Like, he just knows what gets a reaction out of the crowd.
But even if he just comes out, people are like, you still suck. And I remember that happened sometime, I think this week, where he was just standing there. And it was that when he was talking to Ricky. And people were just yelling, you suck.
Yeah, they were just saying Sammy sucks. And
he
he's like,
didn't even
around,
do
like,
anything.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. He's generating. He's generating Twitter posts. He's generating Facebook posts.
Right.
He's generating heat online. He's generating heat in the ring. He is generating, like, he's even fueling the neckbeards that are out there to piss the people off that don't like the general opinion. He's like, there's fans out there of Ricky that just are fans of Ricky because he rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Not whether you're a fan of him or not. There are people out there buying that man's t-shirt because they want to look at a wrestling and fan and go, ha, 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 fuck you, I make you upset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the most ridiculous thing, because when you see him on that TV, you see the dynamic of him, you'd think, oh, nobody likes this guy. Why do they keep putting him on TV? I fucking hate this guy. That's why they keep putting him on TV. That's why
It's working.
Starks. That's why Sammy Guevara is like, he just has to stand there. He's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
He just generates heat. And he just stands there.
And he's one to constantly post on Twitter, Ty's the same way.
Oh, yeah. He's not afraid to do it either.
No, but he posted the other day that him and Ty bought a house.
Yep.
And posted some pictures with the dogs and all this cool stuff. And I found myself hesitating to like the post because he's such a good heel that I was like, Sammy.
Yep.
I genuinely, in real life, it translates over to where
it's so
like
funny.
you've said before, you always hated Chris Jericho. You didn't realize he was doing his job so well.
Oh, I still say I would hate him outside of wrestling, though. Personal opinion. But yeah, great segment between them. They had set up Ricky Starks will be taking on Chris Jericho next week on Dynamite, I believe.
Yes, that is going to be next week on Dynamite. But let's move on to a main event quality match.
It depends on who you ask.
If you're asking me, this was fantastic, but it was the Elite versus Death Triangle. This was match 5, which was a no DQ.
And I think it was a pretty good match. I mean, I feel like deep down, the Mark in me wants, not like the Mark name, the Mark, I guess, title, wants to hate this match because at this point we're 5 matches in of the same participants.
Right.
With a weak storyline, I guess. I guess not a weak storyline, but they're not referencing why these two teams are fully feuding, and I think that's a little silly.
Uh-huh.
I want to hate these matches. I want to roll my eyes every time these guys enter the ring, that being the Elite, but I find myself 3 seconds into the match glued to the fucking screen on the edge of my seat, just like, oh my God, this match is great.
First of all, it always starts off with 2 just sick entrances.
Always.
Between Death Triangle and now the Elite.
Well, of course, Death Triangle, and you and I have talked about this, and we might even talk about this in our year-end episode, but
Coming soon.
But Death Triangle had arguably the best entrance in AEW. like 100%.
If we were to talk about worst entrance, though, this is random and has nothing to do with this match. Worst entrance of the year? Remember when Cody had his entrance in WWE and he got stuck?
No, that's not the worst. That's the best. He didn't get stuck. He was waiting. There's a clip out there of Cody Rhodes because he has that little rising platform.
Yeah, but WWE didn't know
the angle
whole
was
thing,
a little bit pulled too far out. And for about 3 to 4 seconds, you just see Cody Rhodes' head at the bottom of the screen looking around, like waiting for his cue to start going up. And it's
adrenaline in my soul.
He just, it's great. So you got Death Triangle coming out with their entrance. But ever since the Elite have, I guess, licensed Carry On My Wayward Son, every time that song hits, it gives me goosebumps.
I love it.
It's so good. It's I don't know if it's the symbolism, I don't know what it is, but the riff, I don't know. It's a good ass song. Like it fits them so well, and they come out and it's so not what you would have expected. Like obviously if you read the dirt sheets and you read like they were trying to trademark it, like you would have known, but just being like a fan, like a 12-year-old kid who's not on the internet all day looking at wrestling dirt sheets to find out what's happening. It must have been like, what is this? Like a song that's not very current, not very popular in modern music, used in a way that it's like, wow, this is like it really throws like a powerful vibe.
It does.
It's so good.
And the lights. Somebody got a really good shot on Twitter, and Kenny Omega reposted it.
They've got the lights behind them, so they're blacked out. Like, I don't know how it is in like live, but when you see it on camera, like you see like just the silhouettes of them, and they've got their positions, and it's like T-shirt quality every time. You could take a snapshot of that, put it on a T-shirt, put the Elite at the top, and it would sell like fucking hotcakes.
But we were coming up on Christmas time, so they used this opportunity to put Christmas trees all down the ramps. And at one point, I don't know who.
Penta,
because that's right, because
they went to commercial and you were out of the room for a minute, and I was trying to yell to Jamie what was going on, and I was yelling, Penta has a Christmas tree. The Christmas tree broke. He's bringing the Christmas tree back in the ring, and at this point we're at picture-in-picture. I'm like, so there's not even an announcing, so I can't even like rely on Excalibur to give me some type of vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about how Penta is putting together a Christmas tree in the middle of an AEW Dynamite ring while grown men are fighting around him, and then he has probably the hardest time leaning something in a corner as he's trying to lean this Christmas tree into the corner, the design not to fall over, so he's having a hell of a time, and it came into play throughout the entire picture-in-picture where all of the Elite got smashed into a Christmas tree.
It was really good.
It was great. I loved it.
It's a great way to start off the match.
If you don't like goofy wrestling, then don't fucking watch the first 5 minutes of this match.
If you don't like goofy wrestling, then this is not...
Stop watching wrestling.
I mean, everything's goofy. WWE's
you're not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me the honorary Uce isn't the goofiest fucking storyline. Like, I love it.
Oh, I love it.
I am 100% involved in that. But you're not going to tell me that's not the goofiest shit in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to have a redheaded white dude join like a Samoan family just like that. Like, yeah, he's in.
Yeah, but no, like, if you don't know the story
Grandma
about,
Uce is going to be accepting of that? Like, no fucking way.
Yeah, like how long they've actually known each other. And
for sure, but like, you don't know that outside of wrestling, WWE storyline.
They don't reference it. They act like they've all just started hanging out not too long ago.
But this match was 100% a great combination of that goofy and super serious, impressive wrestling that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Death Triangle, and Pac are all known for doing.
Absolutely. It started to get really impressive when Kenny Omega pulled out the barbed wire broom.
Oh my God. I don't know what that's from, but Excalibur said that is not the first time I've seen that broom, and we're going to have to go back and look into that, but I loved it. It's like Mick Foley pulling out, a Sacco covered in barbed wire. Just like, oh my God, that's his thing. He's the sweeper. He's the cleaner,
Yeah.
It's amazing. Do you remember when we first started watching Kenny Omega in AEW, you and I could not figure out why there were women in scantily clad bikinis walking out with fucking brooms.
That was really awkward time. And I didn't understand it because they didn't really reference
it. Like entrance, and he would walk in, and we're just like, what is this? And I the only thing that made sense was he was the cleaner. Like, okay, and he would come out with a fucking broom, and it was. I think it was, honest to God, one of the things about AEW that you and I were like, this is so cool. Like, it was like,
it's so different.
I felt like I was 12 years old again watching, Attitude Era Raw.
Right.
Like, it was just like, did they just beat up that guy in a supermarket and dump milk all over the place? Like, are you serious? Like, what am I watching? I absolutely, I should hate this stuff. I should hate this trio best of 7, because it's going to 7 matches, especially now that they put stipulate.
Of course.
And but I look forward to it every week.
It's hilarious though too. Like it's brutal. It's hard hitting. These guys act like they all hate each other the way that they're hitting each other in the ring. But it's hilarious too because like for this situation, Brandon was dressed up like an elf and he had like little ornaments in his beard.
Oh my God, I love Brandon.
It was just hysterical. Like it is. It's goofy. It reminds you of like 1990s, like WWF.
But they're also putting in a little bit of storyline where they're attacking Nick's ankle and they're really working on trying to get one injured so they have one up and they're not being able to do it. How it's making the Elite and Kenny, or making the Elite feel like the underdog. like they're the
Yeah,
ones, and they
it
are.
does.
They're trying to win the championship. I don't know what they're going to do when they hit Game 7.
But I genuinely feel like every match has been completely different than the match previously. It's not like we've watched the same match 5 times.
Right.
It's all a little bit different. The fast pace and the hard hitting is every single time. But the actual match itself has been a lot different every time.
I think they did it right, though, is they didn't do the stipulation matches until the 5th match.
Right.
They've made, I feel like by the fourth match, the only reason that people were still interested, not the only reason they were still interested in the story, but one of the storyline interest in the story was that the Elite were down. They were in a deficit so insane that it was like, there's no way they're going to win.
They have to win 3 in a row.
If you watch hockey, if you watch, I believe soccer does it as well, the best of 7. I don't know. I know hockey does it the best of 7. If you've ever had your team in the Stanley Cup playoffs and you're in a 3-1 deficit, you are like bite teeth come Game 5.
Right. Baseball's very similar to where you're facing the same over and over and over.
Yeah, like you could be down 3-0, and it's doable. I hate bringing it up, but the Bruins lost a 3-0 game lead to the Philadelphia Flyers back in 2006. Flyers won 4 straight to advance to the Stanley Cup playoffs or the finals.
That's a touchy subject in our house.
It's but I'm just saying it's a possibility. So when you had this interest up until then, okay, now they won. It was now 2-3, so the deficit wasn't, or I'm sorry, it was 1-3, so it wasn't as bad. Well, now we're like, all right, well, what are you vying for now? And now they added on the no DQ. Now they added on to the falls count
anywhere is the next
7th
match.
one is a ladder match.
A ladder match. I feel like that is going to be just absolutely insane.
And
I'm
damn
so
well,
looking forward to it.
You know damn well they're going to leave everything on the table.
Again, it's in California. That's where the Young Bucks are from.
Mm-hmm.
This is the opportunity where the execs are going to be watching. They're going to be in the arena. This is the time to really, really show off, and it's going to be the beginning of the year, which the beginning of this year, it's funny, it was Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix for the AEW World Championship.
What a match.
Yep.
My God.
I loved it.
You haven't seen it, go back and watch it. I don't
That's
give a shit if you don't like AEW. I don't know why you're still listening. At this point, if you don't like AEW,
we really want to sell you on it.
My soothing voice. Either way, really go back and watch this match. Find YouTube reviews of it. Like watch. Oh my God.
The rivalries between these two groups is phenomenal.
And then we can't forget about the match between the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks. The cage match.
The steel cage match.
When the Lucha Bros won the championship. It was
talk about edge of your seat. I've never been so excited.
So
that still, I think to this day, is my favorite match in AEW of all time.
I can understand that.
That Briscoes and FTR match was great, but that was technically ROH.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's ROH. That's not even AEW.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's just wrestling.
Absolutely.
Those two companies are about one and the same. The only difference is one doesn't have a TV deal.
Yet.
So we had Tiger Driver 98s into barbed wire that went into Kenny Omega's asses. We had Snapdragon suplexes. Pac used tinsel for a hold on Kenny. There was...
That so many crazy.
I know. I tweeted this 2 weeks ago. 2022 is ending, and I'm still saying the most ridiculous shit that's happening in wrestling. I still have like 6 days left of 2022, and I'm still saying the most ridiculous shit that has to do with wrestling. But finally, the Young Bucks were able, and the Elite totally were able to get the win with the one-legged Meltzer driver because they're really selling that ankle injury on Nick, and they were able to get the win. Eked it out. And then Death Triangle beat the shit out of him.
Oh, Nick was pouring. Everybody was getting hit in the face with
Nick
hammers.
Was split open. Everybody brought out hammers. It was hammer time. And they went to commercial. Penta was, kicking the crap out of him still, and they were cowering in the corner. So really, really trying to give the Death Triangle the heel aspect and trying to give the Elite that face. And it's so good. Yeah, I'm in it. We also had Hook taking on Exodus Prime in a very short match. Hook doing his thing and throwing people around, I think he made him pass out. He either passed out or submitted. I can't remember, but it wasn't that long.
Shout out to Exodus Prime because he took a Narkill bump and then landed on his head.
Oh yeah, he's been jobbing this week. Like he's been the jobber for the week of Dynamite and Rampage.
Really good.
Yeah, I mean, but it was more of just to set up more backstage antics as we find Big Bill and Lee Moriarty attacking Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Stokely Hathaway egging him on. And I think this is just to set up, I guess, a tag team between Hook and Jungle Boy.
Yep.
The firm's really showing up in a lot of segments.
I really like it.
AEW recently.
They said that this was their plan and this is what they're doing, and everything that they've said so far, they've done a good attempt at pursuing all the things that each individual member of the firm has said. I really like it, and Stokely is just the best.
Yeah, he's been great. He had a great segment. We'll talk about that with
Ethan Page.
Thank you.
And Bryan Danielson.
Yep. But it's, more firm participants and I guess members.
I guess.
Man, I'm doing a horrible time with the words here. We had the Guns taking on FTR, which
Ass Boys.
Yes, the Ass Boys taking on FTR in a match that's probably been brewing for about 2-3 months now. They've been coming out egging on FTR. They've been dressing like Grumpy Dax and Grumpy Cash with the bald caps and the mustaches and
sabotaging matches.
They had a hand in them losing the ROH titles.
Yep, that is correct.
So this match is I think everybody thought this was going to go FTR's way. It really started to look like that, but the Ass Boys didn't. The Ass Boys pulled one out of their ass and was able to pin.
They're cheating ass.
It doesn't matter. What the ref's decision is final. The ref decided that Austin Gunn pinned Dax.
Yep. That's how it went down.
And the entire crowd, it went quiet. The entire crowd was like, what?
Dax had a lot of a difficult time here because his ass was
he had a broken ass, and who better than the Ass Boys to take advantage of a broken ass?
You know.
But if you didn't know, he had that match with the Briscoes a week prior and tweeted out a very, very bruised rear end of his. Showed it on AEW's Rampage, and so he had a legitimate injury that they definitely exploited to a degree where they were able to win. And
it's been 3 really horrible losses for FTR.
Yep. And they are currently slated for Wrestle Kingdom to defend their IWGP Tag Championship.
Yeah.
So interesting what that's going to happen. I know Dax has talked about, wanting to do his singles thing for a minute, maybe not mentioning it like he wants to leave FTR and not have a tag team, but their contract's coming up next year. They've mentioned that if they might shop around depending on what's good for FTR, not good what's good for AEW, which I can respect as an individual.
Sure.
They're looking to do bigger and better things, and they've done. He actually even went as far to say that this past Briscoes match was his greatest masterpiece in wrestling, his greatest thing he's done in all of wrestling.
That's Dax, right?
Right. He's also just started a podcast while William Regal has ended up leaving AEW, and instead of completely shutting down the Gentleman and Villain podcast that William Regal ran, his co-host, I can't remember his name, actually asked Dax to basically start a new podcast. So you have FTR with Dax Hardwood taking over that podcast. So he's got more stuff to do. So, you never know. We might see the end of FTR for a minute. We might see they might not be tagging for a little bit. If they drop these IWGP tag titles here in January, that's all their gold. All of their gold is gone. They don't have a shot at the AEW titles anymore. They were the number 1 contenders for probably 6 months. We might see a reduction in FTR's, activity here next year.
That'd be a huge loss.
It would be, but I would love to see both Dax and Cash as singles competitors.
Oh, absolutely. They're both fantastic singles competitors, and Dax has really shown off how incredible of a singles competitor he is this year in particular.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. But honest to God, this match was really a good match between the two tag teams. Sad to see FTR get the loss, but honestly, the Gun Club needed a legitimate win like this. Cheating or not, they needed a win like this to put them on a next level if they're gonna be an active tag team in
People
AEW.
need to take them seriously.
They do, and they're gonna be they're gonna be great heels. They're gonna be amazing heels.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned from Billy Gunn,
right?
Who better to learn from than somebody who was involved in one of the most definitive factions in all of wrestling in the 90s. Degeneration X. They learned, they showed and taught an entire world how to be an Americanized heel on wrestling.
Right.
Who better to have as a heel tag team in a company that needs good heel tag teams.
Right,
needs
than
good
Billy Gunn's
heels
sons.
Than Billy Gunn's sons. Like, we're like, oh my God. So much potential. So glad to see them get the win. So sad to see FTR get the loss.
Of course.
Love the potential for what could develop.
The next segment consisted of the boss, Rick Ross, mediating Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. Couldn't think of his name.
A big man to forget his name.
Yeah.
I mean, as Rick Ross said. Which if you're into wrestling, you've seen the clip of Rick Ross looking at Keith Lee and saying, "You a big motherfucker" on live TV. And
yeah, apparently Keith Lee turned around and Rick Ross got to do like a full like up and down of how big Keith Lee is. He saw his triceps and was like, "Damn, I just had to tell him how big of a dude he is," you know?
It's funny. Rick Ross being a boss, doing what he wants when he wants.
Right.
Tony Khan in the back sweating bullets like, thank God this isn't on the January 4th edition.
So basically he was supposed to mediate some type of intervention between the two
Talking
of
out,
them.
I guess, which
I don't know.
I never thought of Rick Ross as an individual to be a mediator.
I was wondering what this had to do with Rick Ross, but Keith Lee shows up into the ring and Rick Ross is basically like, I don't know, here's Swerve, whatever.
Ruining the promo.
It takes Swerve forever to finally walk out, and when he does, he's like, "Oh, we're on Keith's time as always," you know, giving Keith a bunch of shit.
It just, I don't know.
It was really awkward.
The whole segment was a real hard sell, and it all led up to Keith Lee being attacked by Parker Boudreaux.
Well,
from
yeah,
behind.
Swerve was like, you know, make sure you have eyes in the back of your head. And then Rick Ross did the V thing, you know,
it was like poking him in the back of the
head.
head, like that's where your eyes should be back there. And for a second, I thought Rick Ross was about to throw hands, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried because anytime they have like some type of non-wrestler come into AEW, I feel like they have less training than anywhere else. Because you always end up seeing, because Tony Nese took a hard right hand from
Action Bronson.
No, from Kevin Gates.
Oh, that's right. It was Kevin Gates.
I saw it the other day. It's the only reason it is able to resonate in my head right now. But he took a hard right hand, and it's like, all right, like they're wrestlers. I'm sure, you know, they got to take one on the chin every once in a while. Rick Ross doesn't look like a dude that would be very gentle in anything he does.
Not in the slightest.
The boss?
No.
I mean, he tried to pick up Lexi Nair. Like, that's...
Well, that happened later, but yes, Parker Boudreaux did attack Keith Lee from behind.
Yep.
And then
Keith Lee was able to ward him, was able to kind of thwart him off for a minute. And then
now Swerve is wearing like a sweatshirt with a logo on it.
Which,
Parker comes out into the ring, and now he's got the same logo, insinuating they're like a tag team or something like that.
And then lo and behold, Rick Ross takes down his giant blue blazer, and he had the same shirt on, and this, what looked like a literal shaved ape with tattoos and 2 braids on the top of his head, comes running from off screen because Keith Lee was able to get the upper hand on Parker and just annihilates Keith Lee. And I mean, dude's massive. He's covered from fingertip to the top of his head with tattoos. No idea who this guy is.
The announce team didn't seem to know who the hell he was.
No one did.
You
never even said their name.
No, you did some research after this all went down and found out it was Brendan Goatsman.
Brendan Goatsman, who was a former MLB player. Well, not MLB. He was a former baseball player. He got drafted to the Tampa Bay Rays in 2011. They put him to a couple of minor teams. He never ended up making it to the major leagues. He seemed like he was just, you know, a big man that could swing a bat real hard.
Go back and look at pictures of him when he did play baseball.
Yeah, looked like a normal dude. Like every once in a while, like towards the end of his career, he had like 1 or 2 face tattoos. But nothing compared to what you see him on here. And I think he only got out of baseball a few years ago. But a monster of a human being. I don't know anything about him. I don't know. Apparently he's been signed with AEW for a few months now. They've just been waiting to utilize him. I guess they're the Moguls affiliates is the
Mogul affiliates
is the faction that Swerve is a part of now. I don't know if Rick Ross is going to be a reoccurring member or if it's just a few appearances here and there.
What I did find interesting was the next day on Twitter, Shane Taylor actually reposted or retweeted something about the situation that had happened previous night.
Shane Taylor being used to be in a tag team with Keith Lee.
Yeah, if you didn't watch the final battle, they had a match against each other. It was Swerve and Keith Lee versus Shane Taylor and God, I can't remember the other guy's name. He was really good too. But they had a match. So Shane Taylor is now saying like, hey, maybe you're going to see me sooner than later, insinuating that he might have something to do with
he said back then that
Keith
was
Lee and Shane Taylor tagging up again.
That was a debt that needed to be settled between family. And then he also commented, but you don't fuck with my family like you just did. So it kind of makes it seem like Swerve Strickland, Shane Taylor is going to have something to do with, which would make sense. And you're going to have Keith Lee is going to be taking on 3 really talented individuals. Mm-hmm. And he can't take all 3. He's a big dude, but he ain't that big.
But the 2 of them can take all 3 of them.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So again, I always say it every week, but planting the seeds of storyline for later on down the road. I'm interested to see what they're doing. I've been a fan of Parker since he signed to AEW. I didn't know anything about him prior to that. I was wondering where he was because they've had the Trustbusters come out on Dark a few times and they haven't had him there.
Right. And Ari Daivari did insinuate that Swerve had paid him, and that's why Parker was on Mogul Affiliates now, but he basically said that he'll always be a part of the Trustbusters too. Now, as you had said previously, there was some type of post-match interview between the Mogul Affiliates and Lexi Nair, and she was pretty much asking, what does everybody have to do with each other? That was when Rick Ross really declared that this was going to be some type of group, like you said, perhaps reoccurring.
Right.
And then Rick Ross just laid it on thick and was like, hey, I got the Benz ready.
I think the cutie car or something like that.
Yeah, he was like,
Lexi
you
Nair.
Cute, and really tried to get one under Big Bill. But Big Bill saw the writing on the wall, and looks like Christmas, he put a ring on it.
Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah, good move.
Congrats to the 2 of them, because they seem like awesome people.
They got hitched, and I'll tell you what, I'm surprised because she's a pretty small girl. I'm surprised that rock on her finger is not weighing her down. That thing,
it's gorgeous.
Like it makes me sad watching all these motherfuckers get married because there is no way in hell I could afford you a rock like that. That whole rock probably cost as much as my house.
And that's okay. Good for them. I don't need that, but good for them.
Congratulations to W. Morrissey, Big Bill, whatever you want to call him, and Lexi Nair for tying the knot. Is that what they call it? Hitching? Getting hitched?
Tying the knot. That's when you do get married. That would just be engaged. I mean, you have to be a very strong individual to take on Diamond Dallas Page being your father-in-law.
Oh, that's right. That is her father, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot.
I believe
about
that's her stepfather, but like
close enough.
He raised her. Yeah.
That's even worse. Well, again, congratulations to the couple. I'm sure they should turn that into a storyline somewhere down the road. Might as well.
We touched base with it, and I say we, like I'm a part of AEW. AEW did one wedding, I believe, so far, and that was with Penelope and Kip.
Hopefully this doesn't suffer the same fate that did, because the big man in that storyline hasn't been seen on TV more than, 4 times this year?
I believe so. Also, wasn't Chuck Taylor his young boy?
Chuck Taylor was his young boy for a little bit. Which if you don't
Trent
know, you don't know what a young boy is. That's like the newbie in Japanese wrestling that has to do basically the veterans' bidding. It's a sign of passage out there. Yeah, that storyline unfortunately left the big man out in the winds at this point.
You can say Miro.
Can I? I don't want him to jump through. Him or his wife.
Oh, I was going to say him and CJ could whoop our asses.
Oh, I know.
No doubt. Talking about hard-hitting women, let's talk about what ended up being the main event of Dynamite and ended up hands down one of the best women's matches of the year, if not the best.
And honest to God, it makes me put my foot in my mouth when I say that AEW's women's division is lacking.
I know. Again, Tony Khan has listening devices because he really told these 2 to put on a great show. And Hikaru Shida and Jamie Hayter know how to put on a great show. And they went toe-to-toe, head-to-head for the AEW
tit for tat,
Women's
whatever
World
moniker you want to put on it. These 2 tore the house down. Great to see that an AEW women's title match be the main event of the Starship program of a company.
It was well deserved. It absolutely should be.
100%.
And we've had that conversation before. When you are having this big of a title on the line, you should absolutely have the headlining match.
And not just that. Like, we're not just saying that because we want the women's division to shine a little bit more.
Which we do.
We do, but it's more than that. It's, you not only have to be put in that position, the title doesn't just, it not only deserves to be in that spot on the show, but the performers need to perform at that level, and these
Right.
two did not let you down on this.
No.
This was an amazing match between the two of them. Honest to God, one of the best women's match of the year between AEW and WWE. Indie promotions and beyond, that you can make an argument left, right, and center, but the major ones you see, the ROH, AEW, and WWE, one of the best women's matches of the year.
It really was.
These two, and the finisher, they, honest to God, had everybody losing their minds in the last 2 to 3 minutes when they just were going back and forth between reversals. They were going back and forth between finishers, and just phenomenal.
It was just back and forth, exactly like you said. It was a very even match, and it ended up being a very clean match. There was Britt Baker interference, but she ended up just getting absolutely rocked with that kendo stick. Which
even then, I bought into it. I figured that was going to be the distraction that led to the pin, and it didn't. Shida was able to dispose of Britt Baker fairly quickly, but at the help with Toni Storm coming and run down.
Yep.
She was able to take out Rebel, Britt Baker, and anybody else that was kind of in the middle of it. It didn't allow Hikaru Shida to get the win in the long run.
No,
but
she took 3 lariats before she finally was.
That's just the lariats. Never mind everything else she took right before that. It was insane. They really put over not only, obviously Hikaru Shida's the longest reigning AEW women's champion, one of the most decorated in AEW in the women's division. But they gave she obviously shined, but it gave Jamie Hayter the heart to put out the effort to get that win. She had to put and when she got done, whether it was kayfabe or not, she looked half dead. Her hair was messed up, breathing heavy, sweating.
And this was only Jamie Hayter's first title defense.
Yeah.
But she said she's going to be a fighting champion, so I'm looking forward to seeing who she's going to be facing next. That's going to follow this great of a match.
I'm still waiting for Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter.
I think eventually it's going to happen, but I don't think yet.
Not anytime soon.
I don't think
yet.
But
I think towards the end of her title reign would be Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, because they've been buddy all the way up until this. Britt Baker's also been on her side since she's been running for the title, and in her corner since she won the title instead of her time. That's great, but Britt Baker, the character,
they teased this
there's
before.
no way. Yeah, they had it a little bit when
couple feuds.
Toni Storm had the belt, and it was right before actually the match that she ended up winning the title. That's when they had that little thing, and they ended up double crossing. It's a whole big thing.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited again for more potential of what's to come the first of the year.
Right, it's a slow burn with that, and there is going to be that Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Saraya and mystery partner.
Still have not been announced. Still have not.
Possibly Thunder Rosa.
The timeline could add up. I know originally Thunder had said her proposed time to come back would be early January. I know a few weeks ago, a month ago, she had said something about more like February, which again, it's wrestling. They could always just be saying that to throw you off the trail a little bit.
Exactly.
There's also a multitude of talent out there that could also be her partner.
Right. It's the nice thing about Tony Khan is he's got literally this forbidden door open to where different promotions, so many different people have worked for the company just for a night. Deonna Purrazzo came in there and fought for the ROH championship to keep it relevant.
Yep. You could pull an indie wrestler. You could pull NJPW or even ROH original member.
Oh, yeah. They have so many Japanese women that they've brought in.
It could be anybody in the world. And I don't know. I don't know if Thunder Rosa would be a good fit. I think that would be, honestly, I think it'd be underwhelming.
Yeah.
I think it's like the one where it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Do you have any ideas for who would be a better fit for that?
Mercedes Varnado? But I know that's not a reality.
Know what the hell.
I don't know. I doubt that's going to happen.
We can sit here and read the dirt sheets all we want. Apparently, she's in Japan.
I believe she is in Japan, and she's going to be on Wrestle Kingdom 17. Whether she wrestles a match, or if she even gets physical, or if she just shows up, I think that she is going to make the wrestling world shit their pants. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that is my
that would be great.
Prediction is that she is in Japan right now with her feet up, hanging out with Kairi Sane.
Do you think that she's going to come to AEW for that match? You're just saying it would be good.
I'm just saying it would be good. No, I there's no doubt in my mind it's not her.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Saraya's friends with a lot of people,
of course.
So it really could be anybody.
It's going to be Renee Paquette.
Renee. She hinted at she wanted to do it.
They are like
don't.
They are extremely good friends.
What if it was Soraya's mom?
I could see that.
She's nuts.
I never thought about that going into the family.
She is hard hitting because she was on Impact as of the last few years, right?
I don't know if she still is,
Can't
but
remember her name.
I know that she was for a little bit. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean they've been in the industry for
She's nuts.
their entire lives.
Oh, for sure. Saraya did come out at the end, so that was Tony Storm came out and Saraya came out to basically be in Shida's corner. So don't know what they're gonna do. They might end up doing a match with 3 of them.
Interesting that Tony Storm came out. She didn't really have anything previously to do with this.
No, they just kind of put her in there maybe because she has ties to Jamie Hayter.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But that ended Dynamite.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about, hold on, please. The $300,000 Three Kings Christmas Casino Trios Battle Royale.
I'm glad you had that up.
That started off Rampage.
I'm glad that you had that up.
I wrote that down because I knew one of us was going to have to remember what that was, and I knew I couldn't remember that off the top of my head. So
yeah. Tony Khan with his ever so famous random title match names.
Yeah. So basically, we had this Trios Royale that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of that match was the 3 people, and they got $300,000, so $100,000 apiece.
Right.
And excuse me, the teams that participated in this match were the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. You had the Dark Order, Dragolisto with Preston Vance and Roosh, Tony Nese, Josh Woods, and Ari Daivari, which was an interesting trios, but worked. Top Flight and AR Fox, the Blackpool Combat Club, and also the Spanish Announce Project. And last but not least, the Butcher, the Blade, and Kipsy.
Which, can we talk about SAP? Like, I know right now there's some heat on SAP because it's like a carbon copy of, I believe it's SAT.
Yes, SAT.
Which is an independent wrestling team that has the same gimmick where they're the Spanish announce team. I don't know. I think that apples and oranges at this point. Like
for real.
Nothing in wrestling is original.
Yeah. It's unfortunate when big groups like AEW and WWE rip off the indie scene.
Right, but if you look
I don't know if it was a rip off,
Yeah, if you look at these two individual groups side by side, you have SAP, they have black trunks with I think gold accent, and they are all of Spanish descent.
Yes, or have some type of ties to Mexico.
And I'm not saying that, obviously the Spanish Announce Project, they are all of Latin descent, but they don't all look the same. Luther looks like a bald white guy. Mm-hmm. You have Serpentico, who, if you didn't know that he was of Spanish descent, you would have absolutely no clue.
Right. Didn't he just lose his 100th match?
Yes, he did.
Like they're not really putting these guys over.
And then Angelico, like, other than...
He's a hidden gem. Everybody thinks that he sucks and he's weird, but I'm telling you, don't sleep on Angelico.
None of them are. They're amazing.
Jack
all
Evans was phenomenal too.
But like, if you look at these, even their dynamics, you got Angelico, who has like this green and black, like techno raver dance guy.
He's built like our 6-year-old son, who's like all skin and bones. So it's hard to take him seriously,
Luther, who's this heavy set, bald, light skinned guy,
right,
in a red leotard, basically. And then you have Serpentico, who's a masked wrestler that just doesn't win. Like the similarities between these two teams are completely different. Like I get it. I get that they're similar in the idea of how they came together.
Right.
But it's not like these guys are going to be going for the trio tag team championship.
Oh, there's no way. But the idea here is that the 3 of them are going to be the actual Spanish announce team now.
Right. And it's a play on Spanish announce team and Chaos Project, Spanish announce project.
Right.
Was it influenced by SAT? Probably.
Right.
But I'm getting completely sidetracked. I love them. I absolutely love. I'm a huge fan of Luther and Serpentico. I've grown to like Angelico, so I was glad to see them as a tag team together.
Sure, they were all
the drama
really good.
that comes with it, but I love them as a tag team.
It was funny because when it was their time to come in, they actually like took off the headphones and they got all excited, like and they like ran into the ring. And then
quickly were eliminated.
That's okay. We're not worried about that,
This match was definitely the highlight of Rampage.
It was really, really, really good. I love that Tony Khan's not afraid to start off Rampage or Dynamite with such a huge banger of a match.
Well, he also knows the majority of your watchers in that beginning. So if you have a match that's not super storyline oriented and it is just a really fun match. It will keep
Mhm.
the attention of individuals
Well,
when you have something like this.
sure, the last match was really fun too. Let's
Oh, of
be
course.
honest.
Of course it was.
I had quite a few laughs.
Oh, of course. No doubt. I'm not saying it wasn't a main event quality.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, that has a storyline aspect to it. That main event is built around something that's developing within AEW as a storyline. But if you're trying to, and you've heard of those 15-minute pitches, this is Tony Khan's 15-minute pitch
Sure.
to people who are watching Rampage for the first time.
Now, here's the thing that they're really trying to sell, and I think this just reiterated that there was some storyline that did happen in this Royale match, and it was that Hangman Adam Page came in at some point.
Right towards the end.
Yeah, right towards the
Actually
end.
ended up
John Moxley was still there. Claudio was still in there. And basically, like, fucked up John Moxley's opportunity to win this match.
Yeah, he ended up attacking John Moxley, and because there's no DQ in these matches, there was no problems. They were in the ring, and the security was holding back Hangman against the ropes. John Moxley was being held back as well, and
Top Flight took them out.
Top Flight ended up taking out John Moxley because he wasn't paying attention. He was paying attention to the Hangman Adam Page, which then respilled out into the outside of the ring.
Yep. John got up even after he was eliminated and went up on the top rope and jumped on top of all the security and Hangman Adam Page. So,
but that gave,
fueling that, feud between the two of them.
Yep. But that gave Top Flight the ability to have a 2-on-1 versus Claudio. And
Chances weren't good.
I gotta say that if this was just a match, if it was a handicap match between Top Flight and Claudio, they did this great.
They did.
They really did. Top Flight looked phenomenal as a tag team, like they always do.
And Claudio didn't look bad in the absolute slightest.
No, he looked extremely strong. He took on two very talented individuals, but was able to use his brute strength and technical ability to he got thrown out in the end. Top Flight ended up winning, but it was like a hard fought. It wasn't a 2-minute, one or two spots, and then the big guy goes over.
It went on for quite a bit.
There was a couple of spots where you're like, oh shit, like Claudio might be able to pull this out, and then vice versa. And like, oh wait, no, Top Flight's going to get it. Like it went back about 4 or 5 times, and it really kept it interesting and kept both of them looking strong, even after Claudio got thrown out.
Right. There was one spot where Claudio got thrown out, and he was on the apron. He definitely overextended how much he was falling out of the ring.
Like he's got the one leg in, the other one's inches away.
Yeah, you gotta sell it a little bit. He did a good job selling how well Top Flight worked together. And AR Fox had been eliminated for a while at this point. So, basically if he wins this opportunity, he's been out for a while, like Dante and Darius did.
He only did half the work.
Yeah, but they ended up pulling out the win, and I think that was good because John and Claudio didn't need to win this.
No, they already got everything else going on around them. They've had championships.
Right.
Claudio's the world champion. Like you don't need any. They don't need the wins.
No.
The Top Flight, they needed this win. Yes. It's another up and coming tag team getting. Yep. Yeah, AR Fox too. They've got more experience under the belt. They've got more fire underneath them to accelerate them to a top tier level.
And this does actually feud a match that happens on Dynamite between John Moxley and Claudio versus Top Flight. That will be happening next week.
Yes, it will be.
Well, actually this week. I apologize.
Right. That'll lead us up into Jade Cargill taking on Vertvixen in was probably the shortest match of all of AEW this week. They got in there, went back and forth a little bit. Vertvixen got a little bit of offense in. Jade Cargill kicked her in the face, and that was it. Got a 45th win.
660 days undefeated.
You did find a interesting tweet by her. Somebody had asked about why she hasn't gone for the AEW title since she's had such a phenomenal undefeated streak, like you said, 660 days. And she had this to say, which was...
She said, I have to get warm. I think everyone should be happy and grateful they seen me in my first match ever. Most of the women who have carried the main title have hundreds of matches. I've literally had only 45 and 1 off-grid match. Let me take my time. You all know I'm going to be great.
I don't know what off-grid match she's talking about, though.
I don't know.
Must have been, I don't know. We'll have to look into that. But yeah, a solid win. Didn't really do anything. I think it was just really a time filler.
Oh, I wonder if it was the dark match he was talking
about. Maybe, but no, because that was
part of the...
That was her big... I don't remember what it was, but 40th. It was a big number. Yeah, 40th. So, yeah, not much. Really, honest to God, we've probably talked longer than the match was at this point.
Just constantly putting Jade over. Continuation of the baddies. Haven't really seen anything happening with Red Velvet, although
Red
I feel like
Velvet,
that's going to turn.
A little dissension in there.
If Red Velvet has some type of rivalry with Jade Cargill, I think that would be phenomenal because Red Velvet's really good.
She is really good, but it would be a hard sell because honestly, Jade Cargill, you even surprised by this. Jade Cargill's only 5'10". She's not that big.
So
she looks like she's 7 foot tall, but she's as tall as I am.
Legs,
well, not just that.
How long
a lot of the women in the AEW women's division are just on the shorter side.
Sure.
And it makes her look like this monstrous human being.
Right.
But she's just of average height.
Right. She's just of unaverage build.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Incredible physique.
Absolutely.
And the match to wrap up Rampage was Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, Triple J, versus Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass, because Max Caster was actually hurt because Jeff Jarrett had hit him over the head with the guitar.
The old guitar.
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett he must have like a bunch of Esteban guitars.
All the ones that didn't sell from QVC.
Yeah. Because, man, he just goes through them all the time.
He couldn't get cleared for the night, just for tonight. So Daddy Ass took his spot, and it was very funny to see the dynamic that everybody had. You had two young guys that are super, super over.
And two old guys that you either love or hate them.
Absolutely. I don't know how you could hate Daddy Ass right now, but it was great. Jeff Jarrett obviously can still hit the moves and do his thing. Just
TNA chants aplenty.
Well, I mean, yeah, even Max Caster referenced it in the rap. He said something like, I'm going to put you back to the impact zone or something like that.
Right.
Absolutely hysterical. So, yeah, if you had ever seen any of that go down in TNA, this was very reminiscent of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass in there. And, of course, seeing two veteran guys go back and forth was great wrestling, but just hysterical. I was laughing my ass off the whole time.
See, I feel like I had the opposite opinion of that match.
Oh, really?
I wasn't a big fan of it.
I took it more as like the sports entertainment aspect of it.
Understandably.
Entertainment of it.
No, I'm looking at it in every angle, and I don't know, with the AEW tag titles on the Acclaimed, I don't know why this was necessary.
Oh,
Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal have said they're going to be going for the titles.
Why?
I can't see why they would be ever put the titles on them. I'm not saying Lethal wouldn't, but I'm just saying Jeff Jarrett is just, if you don't know him from TNA, you don't know him from WWE, like, and newer generations are not going to know who this guy is.
No. It's just some heel heat, in my opinion.
Right, but I don't know what they're doing with this. I don't know why Daddy Ass is getting involved, why Max Caster is cast away for a single week. Like, and it's one of those things like, all right, Max Caster's injured. How do they know it's only going to be a week? Like, oh, yeah, he's just going to be out this week.
Mm-hmm. He couldn't get cleared for tonight. Like,
yeah,
okay.
I don't know. I was.
I think it was just supposed to be entertainment for the end of Rampage. Personally.
I think they blew their load on entertainment on the trios. Royale would be because I just nothing about this. I didn't really like it.
Well, I think they looked at it in the aspect of there's not a lot going on. People are out of town.
Of course,
a lot of people probably didn't watch it. Same with SmackDown.
And you're talking about the third or the final match on Rampage, which is supposed to be the main event. So you got your big names, Billy Ass, you got Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and your AEW tag. Like, I get it. I just feel like, to me, it felt like it fell flat.
Oh, it did. It just, like I said, it was more comical than actual
100%.
hard-hitting wrestling.
100%. It was not
Triple
a technical
J
match.
did take the win on this one. And again, like you said that they were going for the tag titles.
Right.
I think I'm good there. It's funny because for a while, the tag team championship was like the title. It was really good. It was over. They had Swerve in Our Glory.
Everybody going after it.
Then, they had the Acclaim to get it, and I feel like it's been really good.
Well, they took a back seat once the trios got re-debuted.
But as weird as it is, I feel like they took a back seat to the women, because the women, for a while, it was like, kind of stale. The championship matches really weren't anything.
Toni Storm was doing matches, but there was not a lot of story build-up. There wasn't a lot of long-term storytelling.
Right. Now I feel like it's making sense. The women's division's making a lot of sense. Even with Athena having the ROH championship, it makes sense. I feel like, they're really putting a lot into the women's division, but now the tag team division is just kind of lackluster. I really don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they didn't give FTR the opportunity to have the belts and just make it a good thing. I think, like you said, with the trios and the tag team, it's really hard to focus on both at the same time.
And a lot of people have talked about that AEW has too many belts for how little airtime they have.
Right.
You can defend the belts on a YouTube show, yeah, but if you have a title change on a YouTube channel, like that's the slap in the face, of a casual wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Somebody like you and I, that we have a podcast, we enjoy wrestling outside of the few hours we get between Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, and Dynamite. We go out of our way to look for wrestling. Not everybody does that. So if you have title changes on a YouTube show, it's going to diminish the value of that title. If you put the TNT title, well, I don't know why you would on a YouTube channel, but it's going to be like, oh, well, that's just the TNT title. You can watch that on YouTube. Like, it's no big deal. Like,
hopefully the trios match when it does get to the 7th one and the winner is determined, that kind of settles down.
It takes up a lot of time during the week. I mean, it's a great segment. I was gushing about it earlier.
Right.
But you're right. It takes up a lot of time for something that's happened 5-6 times already.
Right. I think whoever's going to win is going to win. And I think it's just going to settle down and kind of take reins for other groups and other singles individuals in AEW that deserve the time.
I mean, I think that's part of the reason why they consolidated both TV titles between ROH and AEW. Right. Not TV titles, but the TBS or the TNT title.
It's just one less person you have. Yep, exactly.
But yeah, like I said, people have talked about that AEW is going to be plagued with too many belts, and I feel like they're feeling the heat on that right now. Hopefully after the first of the year with this rebrand they're coming out with, because Tony Khan's talking about there's going to be a whole new look and feel.
They've been working
to Dynamite
9 months
Rampage.
on this.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anybody leaking anything about it or talking about this new. They showed a small preview of it, which if you go on AEW social media, it's a bunch of red and blue lasers with a bunch of superstars or wrestlers, whatever term you want to use.
They showed a little bit of it on Being the Elite. We had caught an episode of Being the Elite on YouTube.
Yeah, it was a small smidgen.
Matt and Nick Jackson.
That's right. You're right. I do remember that now.
Yep, they were shooting some of that with the lasers.
It reminds me of if you've ever played Beat Saber on Quest or any other VR game. Yeah. That red blue laser. American Gladiators futuristic look. Excited to see that. That's supposed to debut the first of the year, or the 4th of the year.
I'm thinking around that same time that 7th match is going to happen.
Possibly that. Well, that would make sense. They're doing that with the TBS executives there,
exactly.
And the Warner Brother executives. But we've got that was the main event for Rampage. That'll do it for Dynamite and Rampage for this week. We've got coming up
this week.
We got the Death Triangle versus the Elite in their match 6 for the Foulest Count Anywhere match.
Okay.
That's going to be on Dynamite. We have Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship. We were just talking about that earlier. Ethan Page versus Bryan Danielson. Renee Paquette had a segment with Bryan Danielson. He called out MJF. Ethan Page came out, called him Vegetable Man. It was a great back and forth with Stokely Hathaway.
Bryan Danielson said, "Did you just call me Vegetable Man?" And Stokely Hathaway said, "You raggedy bitch."
So that's been
that's good.
The meme of the week for AEW. So we'll be seeing those two go at it.
I'm looking forward to that, and I can't say enough good things about how well they've treated Ethan Page. They're doing him right. They're giving him the time he needs. I really do like this guy. I like him on YouTube.
He looks a little bit more aggressive than he has been.
It's been great having him with Stokely and having him, in these great matches like with Bryan Danielson. I think is going to be
and he's got
fantastic.
Something brewing with Matt Hardy and Private Party because he's going to go in with. I know on Dark, they've been showing up a lot there.
Yep, Matt Hardy's definitely hinting more towards the.
Gimmick
with the broken gimmick.
Yep, which I never really got to see that in Impact. I got to see it all in reviews and YouTube videos.
Right,
so I'm excited to see that.
Definitely. Also, we have Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale teaming up to face Ty Mello and Anna Jay.
Ty J. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We went over that.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
They don't even call themselves that anymore.
And then finally, we have Jon Moxley and Claudio teaming up again to fight Top Flight.
Earlier on Dynamite, Jon Moxley ended up taking on Darius Martin.
Yes.
The brother that has been out of commission for a good long little bit of Top Flight, and they had a great match.
They did. Yeah, don't look at Dante and think that he is just by far better than Darius. Darius definitely knows how to hold his own too. It's nice to see him in a singles match.
Up when
he must have. They're just so talented for
They
such
are.
young dudes.
And if you've grown to love the singles competitor, his brother, the dynamic that those two have are just out of this world. Like, they are going to be one of the top tag teams, whether they stay in AEW for a good long while. If they venture outside of AEW, any company would be stupid not to pick two guys up.
Absolutely.
Young and full of
talented,
energy.
charisma out the
Oh
ass.
my God. Insane.
Can't wait to see what these two end up doing.
Insane.
I think that this match is just going to put them over because Claudio and Jon Moxley, they just know how to make everybody look good.
That's
Case
what
in
they're
point
there to
with
do.
That trios match.
This is the best way to utilize veteran talent that have been in a different company.
Yep.
That are in this company. They are taking exactly how they gave the win to Top Flight for the 300K Battle Royale. It's the same thing it's going to be for this. It's going to be two veterans of the industry that are either at their peak or on the other side of that peak point, giving the knowledge while they are able to do it, giving the experience to a younger tag team that could take whatever they've learned and even make it better.
The best thing that they could do with their career is put these next guys over.
I think AEW, honestly, this past 9 to 12 months have really been able to dig in, especially after the CM Punk drama.
I was going to say the same thing. Ever since that happened, it's been a completely different company in the regard that I really think that was an opportunity for them to step back and say, we can bring in CM Punk, we can bring in Bryan Danielson.
But we got to stop giving them belts.
Yeah, or we can use people like that to push over the next group of individuals that are going to put everything over. And by putting the belts on the Acclaimed, I think it was a great idea by putting these guys that have been in AEW for a really long time and proving that they have the talent and they don't need these WWE guys. I mean, again, look at Chris Jericho. Look what he did last week for Action Andretti. I'm talking like Taz. There's only one Action.
But I mean, to comment on your tag team, I mean, look at the progression of the tag team titles since the beginning of January. You had the Young Bucks drop it to the Death Triangle. Death Triangle drops it
Which it was supposed to be the Hardys in the first place. So that was a whole different thing.
They had to take a left-hand turn. But I'm honest to God, I'm glad. I'm glad they did.
It worked.
Because
they
Death
gave it
Triangle,
to Swerve in Our Glory after Matt and Jeff dropped it.
We got Death Triangle, and then they transferred it to Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, which
I said Matt and Jeff, Matt and Nick. Sorry.
You got Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, who they needed that push. They needed that to give the legitimacy of that tag team being so over. They gave them the tag titles, especially after how horrific of a match it was a bad match, that the ending of that match just went so sideways.
But I think that's helped Jungle Boy, helped him starting to transition into Jack Perry being officially
and that's what I mean.
Jack Perry by being the tag team champion.
It turned them into champions. It turned them into former champions that have got the experience.
And they had some great matches as tag team.
They ended up dropping it to Swerve in Our Glory, and that was a great tag team to have.
Well, didn't Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus drop it to the Young Bucks, who then dropped it to Swerve in Our Glory?
You're right. That is what happened. But long story even longer, this was able to propel the entire tag team titles to the top of the pile. It went from like the laughing stock of tag team wrestling to, I feel like, one of the best tag team like transitions over the past year. Obviously, the Usos have just held on to the tag team titles for, I don't even remember how many days. We're well past over a year now, so they've had it this entire time. It didn't go anywhere. No storyline happened with it. I think they might have unified the tag titles this year.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that happened, whereas the AEW, and I'm not trying to compare WWE to AEW. You can't, you just can't do that.
As Little Diggy says, apples to oranges.
Right.
You know?
But the way that they were able to take all of these tag teams and they transferred it from the Young Bucks, who are like the home team, like they are the ones that the reason why AEW is a thing right now.
Right, is because of
the reason why AEW gets so much hate right now.
All of the above.
They took it off of former, people that already should have had the title, and they've transferred it to the Lucha Bros, who were already an established tag team, but was now an established AEW tag team. And they gave it to another tag team that was an indie tag team that is now an AEW tag team. And they gave it to another tag team and then another tag team. And granted, it went back to the Young Bucks, but then it went to a homegrown, naturally occurring tag team in AEW between Swerve and
right.
Keith Lee.
That just was supposed to be like a couple
one-off.
weeks, and it just worked.
And it just, everybody loved it. And they came up with Swerve in Our Glory. And it was this big thing. And it has altered the tag team storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Acclaimed, another tag team that was formed within AEW.
Right.
So now you have the past 6 to 8 months of nothing but AEW tag teams touching the title belt.
And if you've never heard the story about the Acclaimed, they were both trained under the same guy. They were from the same area, but they didn't necessarily know each other. They just knew of each other. And I think it was Max Caster that tells the story that he goes to get on the elevator, and he looks over and he sees Anthony Bowens, and he's like, oh shit, we're from the same place. We're here at the same time. He kind of realized he was there for an interview too, and was like, shit, they're going to put us together. So they didn't know each other before then. They hadn't wrestled together before then.
Right.
But I don't know. Tony Khan just saw it on the writing on the wall. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Tony Khan originally pinned the Acclaimed to be the to Jericho.
Right.
And his group, the Pinnacle. Or no, the other one. I'm sorry. Wasn't the Pinnacle. It was
doesn't matter.
Yeah, Chris Jericho's other group. And he said no. So he took the Acclaimed tag team name and passed it off to Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. And Max, I just remember hearing in the interview, he was like, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're both pretty big in the indies. We're both known for where we come from. We're acclaimed indie wrestlers. Like, that moniker kind of works well for us. So to see what they used to be to what they are now, you know, even going back to just a few weeks ago when they had that whole Dynamite celebration with the Acclaimed.
Right.
That, oh my God.
Announce the Acclaimed every week.
Oh, that was just great with Daddy Ass and the whole scissoring, National Scissoring Day. That's what it was. It was just great. So can't wait to see what happens, but I really don't know how they're going to continue this tag team, both the belts. I really don't know what they're doing with storyline.
Well, I'm sure come January 4th, we will find out what direction AEW is going, what direction ROH will have its hands in it. I think that'll do it for tonight. We've gone pretty long, longer than we had expected. Thank you for joining us. Remember to follow us on Twitter at CAW Wrestling Pod. We tweet every Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, and Rampage, ROH events, NJPW if we feel like it. But, you know, the weekly Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
And the pay-per-views.
And the pay-per-views. We are on the tweeters, tweeting the tweets. So come join us. You can find me at Gunk Dudley on Twitter.
And I'm at A Bacon Party on Twitter.
Make sure you leave us 5-star reviews on Spotify,
Apple
Music, Amazon Podcast, whatever podcast
platform that you use.
And if you do follow us or you do listen to us, take a screenshot, tweet at us, send us an Instagram. It's all at CAW Wrestling Pod. We'd love to hear from you, and we will shout you out on the show. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Do you need me to do the intro?
You got it? Can you do it? I'm doing terrible.
I was offering to do it.
I think I did it last time. I thought about it.
That's why I was like, yeah, if you need me to do it. And then you said you got it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, if you could do it, that would
be great.